This month on Now Picture This, Kung Fu, we're spotlighting King Boxer, a.k.a. Five Fingers of Death, a thrilling picture that made its grand entrance in the year of our Lord, 1973. Ever curious how a scribbler from the 19th century might spin a yarn about this martial arts marvel? Well, folks, thanks to the wizardry of modern AI, the days of pondering are squarely behind us. So, here it is, King Boxer. I hope you will enjoy it.
Envision, if you will, during the quiet twilight of an unassuming evening, Chao Chih-Hao found himself engrossed in perusing a letter, the contents of which brought a smile to his visage. Sung Ying enters, bearing the evening's repast upon a tray, announcing the dinner readiness with a demeanour as serene as the setting sun. Upon sharing the tidings in the letter that their comrade, Lu Ta-Ming, was soon to grace them with his presence, Chih-Hao couldn't help but jest at Ying's barely concealed delight at the news. Their mirthful exchange was quickly cut short by the arrival of their neighbour, bearing ill news on swift wings. Master Sung found himself in a dire predicament. Together they hastened to Master Sung Wu Yang's side, only to discover him valiantly holding his own against a cadre of ruffians, their intentions as nefarious as their blades were long. The scoundrels scattered like chaff in the wind upon Chih-Hao's arrival, who gave chase, though they were already shadows in the night. Returning to Master Sung's side, they took stock of his injuries with grave concern. In the days that followed, Ying, with a persuasive tone, suggested their guest, Ta-Ming, spar with Chih-Hao. Given Ta-Ming's tutelage under a different kung fu master, it seemed a prime opportunity to measure the progress of his martial prowess. Master Sung, witnessing the exchange, discerned that Ta-Ming's mentor would be better suited to hone Chih-Hao's skills. A heartfelt dialogue ensued between Master Sung and his pupil. Chih-Hao, a man of few words, spoke of the loss of his kin, and how Master Sung had been both a father and a mentor to him. Despite further training prospects, Chih-Hao wished for nothing more than to remain by the side of those he considered family. Yet Master Sung, perceptive as ever, recognized the love blossoming between Chih-Hao and his daughter, suggesting matrimony lay on the horizon. Master Sung proposed that Chih-Hao's path to the altar be paved with valor. Winning a forthcoming tournament would secure his hand in marriage and bring honor to their community. Chih-Hao, moved by a sense of duty, vowed to train with all his might for the sake of those he held dear. Meanwhile, at a crossroads between Chih-Hao's humble abode and the bustling Budong city, Wan Heng-Chie and his band of miscreants found themselves captivated by the enchanting melodies of Yen Chu-heng. Due to their earlier defeat, they considered abducting Yen, thinking her voice might soothe their disgraced return. Yet, undaunted by their advances, Yen rebuffed Wan with a wit as sharp as any blade, leading to a spirited chase through the streets. In the bustling heart of the town, within the walls of a modest eatery, Yen sought refuge, her gaze clandestinely trailing Chih-Hao, who, unbeknownst to the looming peril, was partaking of his midday repast with gusto. The ne'er-do-wells, recognizing our stalwart hero, harboured ill intentions, their fortune holding only until their rash decision to strike. With naught but a few well-placed parries and strikes, Chih-Hao enlightened these misguided souls on the folly of their ways. Convinced of the merit of having a man of principle and prowess by her side, Yen persuaded Chih-Hao to join her troupe of itinerant musicians, for encounters with ruffians were not uncommon in her travels. The prospect of such protection was a boon for her and her companions. Yet, as night descended and the troop found respite in slumber, Yen sought to ensnare Chih-Hao with a feigned vulnerability. But Chih-Hao, steadfast in his quest, was not to be swayed by the allure of beguiling eyes. In a manner most gentlemanly, he declined her advances. Upon reaching the esteemed halls of Master Suen Shinpei's school, Chih-Hao presented the letter to the master who would shape his destiny. Master Suen, after a discerning appraisal, tasked his finest pupil, Han Lung, with gauging the mettle of the newcomer amidst a dojo bristling with tension. Han, with zeal, put Chih-Hao through his paces, leaving him bested and the master convinced of his unpreparedness for the rigorous demands of the Chang Wu school. Yet despair was not to be Chih-Hao's companion, for Master Suen, moved by compassion, offered him sanctuary within the school's walls, assigning him to tasks of a humbler nature. With nary a complaint, Chih-Hao embraced his duties, his perseverance unwavering even as Master Suen tested him unexpectedly, a reminder of the school's creed to always be ready for the unforeseen. From these humble beginnings, Chih-Hao's diligence bore fruit, elevating him from the rank of a mere intern to that of a student. It was during a moment of study that Han, with an air of entitlement, sought to impose upon Chih-Hao the menial task of fetching wine. Unperturbed, Chih-Hao acceded. Meanwhile, a conspiracy brewed at the tavern among Meng Tianxiong, Chen Lang, and Wan Hengche, plotting to undermine their rivals and secure victory in the impending tournament. Upon one's gaze alighting upon Chih-Hao as he made his entrance, the convivial discourse ceased forthwith. With a tongue sharp as a scythe in autumn, Chen cast aspersions upon Chih-Hao, eliciting from the patrons a motley crew sworn to Meng a cacophony of laughter. Yet one observed, Chih-Hao stood unshaken, a bastion of tranquillity amidst the storm. One, intent on impressing the depth of his scorn upon Chih-Hao, doused him in wine, proclaiming this act a boon to all present as it cleansed the tavern of Chih-Hao's supposed swinish reek. Chih-Hao, in response, did but lightly brush the affront off his shoulder, securing Han's gourds before departing. Meng, the schemer, sought to foil him with a tripping manoeuvre in his egress. However, ever vigilant and honed through constant preparation for the unforeseen, by heeding his new teacher's philosophy to expect the unexpected, Chih-Hao artfully transformed potential calamity into a display of agile prowess, safeguarding the gourd from ruin with a nimble roll. Observing this spectacle, Chen Lang hastily concluded that Chih-Hao's refusal to retaliate was a mark of cowardice, thus deeming him an easy quarry for the forthcoming tournament. In his eyes, only Han Lung and Tu Wei held the mantle of worthiness among the contenders. Tu Wei, a silent witness to these indignities, stood aloof, offering no succour nor interjection. The following dawn brought with it a tempest in the form of Chen Lung, who, with a disdain that knew no bounds, desecrated the sanctity of Master Suen's school. Tearing signs asunder and shattering the school's emblem with but his head, Chen's contemptuous display drew a crowd, only to dispatch them with a ferocity that left even Suen's most adept students, Han and Tu Mei, in disarray. Master Suen, emerging amidst the chaos, sought to parley with the intruder, only to find his wisdom met with further violence. Yet, unlike his disciples, Suen demonstrated a mastery over Chen, advising him post-conquest to reflect upon his actions and vacate the premises with his dignity intact. Yet unbefitting a gentleman, Chen resorted to subterfuge, striking the venerable master with a headbutt before departing with a gait that bespoke a misplaced sense of triumph. Chih-Hao, a witness to these indignities, was counselled by Master Suen against pursuit, for the consensus held him in lesser esteem compared to the formidable Chen. In the aftermath of this debacle, Chih-Hao sought solace in embracing nature, pondering deeply upon the course before him. Resolute, he went to the tavern where Chen and his newfound compatriots, Wan and Meng, revelled in their perceived conquest. Their celebration, however, was abruptly curtailed by Chih-Hao's unannounced arrival. Confronted by Chih-Hao, Chen's provocations were met with a retort that bore the simplicity and efficacy of a rapier's thrust.
"You talk too much."
A statement that in its brevity encapsulated a defiance that words alone could scarcely convey. Upon receiving Chih-Hao's retort, Chen, with a derision befitting a scoundrel of the highest order, quipped, "Has the little piggy found his voice?" Yet Chih-Hao, wearied by the constant underestimation, opted for a gesture of reciprocity most unanticipated. Reminding Chen of the previous night's libation, Chih-Hao douses him in wine, a prelude to a confrontation that would clarify any lingering doubts through a most persuasive blow. Meng, perceiving the tide of battle, was inclined to unleash his cohorts, yet Chen, stung by the affront to his dignity, issued a decree for restraint. The affray that ensued saw Chih-Hao momentarily bested. Yet the spectacle had drawn an assembly of onlookers, keen witnesses to a contest of aerial prowess that culminated in Chih-Hao, the erstwhile underestimated, besting Chen in his own vaunted discipline. The news of Chih-Hao's triumph swiftly found its way back to Master Suan's dojo, carried by the jubilant cook who had been among the throng to witness Chen's downfall. The tidings prompted Master Suan to summon Chih-Hao, not for accolades but admonition, for the art of fisticuffs outside the sanctity of formal competition was looked upon with disfavour. In his defence, Chih-Hao articulated a sentiment born of a refusal to abide further indignities upon his school. Master Suan, discerning in Chih-Hao traits of sagacity, diligence and aspiration, resolved to entrust him with the law of the iron fist, a martial technique of formidable repute. This impartation was accompanied by counsel to wield such power in service of the highest virtues, eschewing the lure of vainglory. Yet this decision did stir the waters of discontent within Han Ta-Ming, whose envy was piqued by Chih-Hao's ascension. His challenge to Chih-Hao met with refusal and restraint, which only served to cement Master Suan's favour towards Chih-Hao and to cast Han into a shadow of disfavour, his heart becoming fertile ground for malfeasance. Unbeknownst to them, one, ever the sly observer, relayed the conferral of the Iron Fist Manual to Master Meng Tungshan, igniting fears of impending defeat in the forthcoming tournament, for the mastery of the Iron Fist by Chih-Hao heralded a formidable challenge to their ambitions. Meng Tungshan and his progeny, unwilling to resign themselves to the vicissitudes of fate, hatch a most nefarious scheme. They enlist the services of Master Okada from the distant shores of Japan with a sinister plot to eradicate their rivals. Their strategy is devilishly simple. Provoke Master Suan's premier disciples into duels to the death. Tu Wei is the unfortunate soul to first taste the bitter draught of their malice. Master Okada, employing insult to incite ire, ambushes Tu Wei, branding him a coward. Tu Wei, inflamed by rage, rushes headlong into his doom. In a display of brazen audacity, Okada and the Meng faction deposit Tu Wei's lifeless form at the doorstep of Suan's dojo, a macabre invitation to vengeance. Master Okada, a grim sentinel, and Meng indulging in a sinister play with metal spheres, await the tempest they have wrought. Yet Master Suan, in a display of wisdom and restraint, counsels his pupils against rash action. Han, however, finds the tempest within him unquellable, venting his fury upon the dojo's innocent walls. Seeking solace in the bottle at a neighbouring tavern, Han encounters Yen. The songstress and their past entanglements add layers to their interaction. Seizing the wine to stem his sorrow, Yen finds herself the unwitting recipient of Han's inebriated advances, which she parries with grace. Their conversation veers towards Chih-Hao, revealing a thread of concern for him over Han, a revelation that salts Han's festering wounds. Upon his departure, Han found himself entangled with Meng and Wan, who in the aftermath of this chance encounter conspired to set upon him a clandestine assault in the shadowed confines of a narrow byway. As the villainous cohort drew nigh, poised for the onslaught, Han implored the boon of parley with the patriarch of the Ming lineage, the esteemed Master Meng Tungshan. Intrigued by this appeal, Meng stayed the hands of his companions and led Han to stand before his father, in an act most base. Han, betraying the confidences of his master, did convey unto Master Meng Tungshan the intelligence that Chih-Hao had been taken under wing to learn the venerable art of the Iron Fist. Master Meng, alongside his progeny and the astute Wan, whose prowess in the clandestine arts of espionage had already secured this knowledge, adopted an air of astonishment as though the tidings were fresh unto their ears. The Mengs with discerning eyes pierced the veil of Han's fabrications, perceiving the truth in the necessity of parley with a house erstwhile considered adversarial. In their hearts both sire and scion harboured a kindred understanding towards Han. His predicament left him ensnared, his faculties for retribution curtailed. With Chih-Hao now ensconced within Master Suan's tutelage, Han found himself impotent to exact his vengeance upon this interloper who had so vexed his existence. In a moment of clandestine confidence, Tian Xiong imparted unto Han a revelation of his disdain for Chih-Hao, avowing a readiness, nay an eagerness to instruct the upstart in the harsh lessons of humility. Thus Han's supplications found their echo, for in the animosity towards Chih-Hao, he discovered not a comrade per se, but an ally in stratagem. The axiom stood reaffirmed: the enemy of my enemy need not be my friend to serve as my ally in the grand chessboard of life. On the morrow, Chih-Hao was taken aback by an urgent missive from Yen, imploring him to meet post-haste at a secluded pagoda on the outskirts of the settlement. A man of Chih-Hao's honourable constitution would not dare turn his back on a damsel in distress. Thus, as twilight descended, he set forth toward the pagoda, unaware of the nefarious ambush that lay in wait. The assailants, disciples of Tungshan bolstered by the formidable Okada from the lands of Japan, and with Han skulking in the shadows as a spectator, launched their attack. Despite Chih-Hao's valiant defence, the overwhelming numbers soon had him at their mercy, bound to a tree in ignominious defeat. Okada, with a command as cold as the winter's frost, decreed that Chih-Hao's hands be rendered useless to quash any hope of mastering the iron fist technique before the tournament. The executioners, wielding logs as instruments of their grim task, proceeded with a zeal that Chen Xiong found particularly gratifying. Okada then unveiled the multifaceted motives behind their assault, a tapestry of vengeance and envy woven together to ensure Chih-Hao's downfall. Seeing the cruelty of his complicity, Han turned away, his guilt a tempest within, yet insufficient to sway his course. By providence or fate, Yen and her companions chanced upon Chih-Hao, providing succour to his shattered form and spirit, ferrying him to the safety of Yen's abode. There, amidst the despair that threatened to engulf him, Yen offered solace and perspective, suggesting that the warrior's path was not Chih-Hao's sole avenue to earth. Back at the venerable halls of Master Suen's academy, Sifu Xin Pei, along with his most esteemed pupils, Lu Taming, Tu Wei and Han Lung, engaged in an earnest colloquy regarding the perplexing absence of Chih-Hao. It had been a sennight since the young protégé had graced the training grounds with his presence. Master Suen, his brow furrowed with concern, was acutely aware of the swiftly approaching tournament, now but a few days distant. Han, ever the schemer, sought to sow seeds of discord and misdirection, airing a scurrilous whisper that had been making its rounds among the local gossips that Chih-Hao was entangled in a romantic liaison with a renowned musician of the locale. Yet Taming, steadfast in his defence of Chih-Hao's character, rebuffed such insinuations, igniting a tempest of discord that Master Suen quelled with a heavy heart. The decree was laid down. Should Chih-Hao fail to return within the allotted time, another would take his place in the tournament. This resolution, though pragmatic, cast a shadow over their spirits, with Taming especially suspicious of Han's unseemly mirth, a portent of the treachery that lurked beneath the surface. As the evening draped its velvet cloak over the day, Han, meandering through the streets with the idle curiosity of a gentleman of leisure, chanced upon Yen. The lady, burdened with procuring medicinal aids, was accosted by Han, whose feigned concern thinly veiled his true intent. Upon learning the remedies were not for her own consumption, Han, with the cunning of a fox, surmised they were meant for Chih-Hao and sought to wheedle the location from Yen's steadfast heart. Despite his menacing demeanour, Yen, a paragon of loyalty and strength, held her tongue. Taming emerged from the shadows in this tableau of tension, and his suspicions of Han's maleficence were confirmed. With a theatric flourish, he lobbed an egg at Han, its yolk as a literal and metaphorical blinder. Yen seized upon this moment of divine intervention to make her escape, vanishing into the embrace of the night, as Han was left to contend with his egg-smeared visage. Meanwhile, having kept a watchful eye on Yen's path, Taming discovered Chih-Hao's sanctuary. In a display of brotherly persuasion, he implored Chih-Hao to shed the cloak of despondency and rejoin the fold of Master Suen's disciples. Despite Chih-Hung's earnest entreaties for him to stay, Chih-Hao, heart heavy with the decision, chose the path of honour over the comfort of convalescence. Thus, much to the chagrin of hearts tender and faithful, Chih-Hao donned the mantle of the inadvertent heartbreaker. In a parallel thread of fate, Ying-Ying, Chih-Hao's erstwhile beloved, ventured forth on an errand of wine, unaware of the dire drama unfolding at her father's dojo. There, Master Sung Wuyang faced the formidable Okada and his disciples in a confrontation that was as uneven as it was unbidden. Despite the elder master's valiant resistance, he was overwhelmed by Okada's merciless assault. The tapestry of the tragedy was further darkened when Ying-Ying returned to find her father grievously wounded, his lifeblood ebbing away. With his final breaths, he beseeched her to withhold the news of his demise from Chih-Hao until the tournament's conclusion, a request born of a desire to spare his pupil from the weight of grief. Back at Master Suan's house of kung fu instruction, Chih-Hao, through both body and spirit trials, emerged from the crucible of recovery with his resolve and prowess fortified. The internal tournaments saw Ta Ming bested by Lung, who fell to Chih-Hao, setting the stage for Chih-Hao to bear the standard for Master Suan at the forthcoming championship. In the wake of his defeat, Lung, driven by desperation, sought audience with Master Meng Tung-shan, offering not only his contrition but a nefarious proposal to waylay Chih-Hao on the eve of the tournament, a plan as cowardly as it was cunning. Master Tung-shan confronts Lung with a discourse on honour, a concept seemingly at odds with the shadowed path they had trodden thus far. Given the myriad of sly gambits they had employed, the irony of such a lecture did not escape notice. It was a peculiar juncture for Tung-shan to invoke the principles of honour, yet it served as a veneer for a more sinister motive, the expulsion of Lung, now deemed surplus to requirements following his defeat at the hands of Chih-Hao. The Mengs, it appeared, were loath to ferry chaff amongst their ranks. Thus Lung was subjected to a harsh lesson in the foreign martial arts at the hands of the Japanese mercenaries, a prelude to a ghastlier act by Tian Qiong, who, in a leap most foul, robbed Lung of his sight, casting his orbs upon the ground as one might discard spoiled fruit. The decree was swift. Lung, now bereft of his vision and utility, was cast out from the dojo like chaff to the wind. In a surprising twist of fate, Chen Lang, witnessing the barbarity meted out to Lung by foreign hands, felt a stirring of conscience. Spurred by a newfound resolve, he hastened to intercept Chih-Hao, who was en route to the tournament. Lang, once thought devoid of all honour, brought tidings of the planned ambush, a gesture that saw him severing ties with the Meng school. Armed with a set of katanas bestowed by Lang as a token of his newfound allegiance, Chih-Hao was embroiled in a skirmish against Master Okada's disciples, from which he emerged victorious. Lang's intervention afforded Chih-Hao the chance to flee, a decision he embraced with the urgency of a tempest. Meanwhile, the tournament grounds buzzed with anticipation, the air electric with the fervour of competition. With a prowess as enchanting as lethal as it was, Tian Xiong swiftly ascended the ranks. His victories a spectacle that endeared him to the masses, even as his vanquished adversaries were borne away in defeat. As Chih-Hao's name was heralded, a pall of tension enveloped the arena, his absence threatening to cast him into disqualification. It was a moment fraught with suspense until Chih-Hao appeared in a fortuitous turn, dispelling the shadow of forfeiture and resuming his destined clash, which he won. In a heartwarming twist, Ta Ming orchestrated a reunion between Chih-Hao and Ying-Ying, a tapestry of romance woven amidst the clamour of battle. Inquiries regarding her father were met with a gentle deception, sparing Chih-Hao the weight of grief. Though tinged with well-wishes, Chi-Hung's arrival illuminated the truth of Chih-Hao's heart, laid bare in his interactions with Ying-Ying, a revelation that untangled the web of her affections. Upon witnessing the tender union of Chih-Hao and Ying-Ying, Chi-Hung found the spectacle more than her heart could bear, and thus withdrew from the tournament's clamour. Her retreat led her to an unexpected encounter with Han Lung, now bereft of sight, seeking solace in her company. Meanwhile, the tournament's zenith approached, pitting Chao Chih-Hao against Meng Tian Xiong in a contest that embodied their years of rigorous training and indomitable spirit. The match commenced with Tian Xiong momentarily faltering, yet he soon regained his composure, unleashing a formidable onslaught upon Chih-Hao. Enraptured by the spectacle, the crowd could scarcely discern the tide of battle as advantage ebbed and flowed between the two combatants. Amidst the fray, Chih-Hao teetered on the brink of resorting to the lethal iron fist technique, but, in a testament to his honour, refrained instead, vanquishing Tianxiong with the refined art of traditional kung fu. The herald proclaimed Chao Chih-Hao the victor, a declaration met with jubilation. However, the revelry was marred by a sinister deed, as Master Meng, under the guise of commendation, treacherously struck Master Sun Qinpei with a concealed blade, an act of heinous betrayal that went unnoticed amidst the celebration. The joy of victory turned to ashes for Chih-Hao as he discovered his mentor grievously wounded. In his master's dying moments, Chih-Hao sought the assailant's identity, but Master Sun passed into the embrace of eternity, leaving his question unanswered. In a cruel twist of fate, Ying chose this moment of profound grief to unveil the truth she had withheld, the demise of Master Sung Wu-yang at the hands of Meng's mercenaries. Though she intended to shield Chih-Hao from distraction, the revelation came as a bitter pill, her timing lamentably ill-conceived. At the abode of Master Meng, the nefarious architect of deceit and violence, preparations were made to fortify against the inevitable retribution from Chih-Hao. Within the shadowed confines of his chambers, Meng and his son Tianxiong were confronted by an unexpected avenger, Han Lung, emerging from the darkness to exact a poetic justice upon Tianxiong, leaving him to experience the world as Han now did, shrouded in perpetual night. In this denouement of vengeance, Yen Chu-hung revealed herself not only as an ally to Han Lung, but as a partner steadfast in the face of adversity, her actions speaking to a bond forged in the crucible of shared trials and tribulations. In the shadowed fray, she offers Lung whispers of guidance, aiming to direct his blows in the pitch. Yet Master Sun, swift as a coursing river, outmatches him. Tianxiong, though racked with torment, strains to heed Chi-hung's beckon. Amidst the cloak of night's confusion, the sly Chu-hung lays hands on Tianxiong, propelling him towards his sire. The elder, having stealthily encircled Lung, poised to deliver a fatal thrust, inadvertently pierces his progeny. The wretched scoundrel breathes his last in his father's embrace, a most grievous folly. Enraged, Qinpei unleashes havoc upon the avengers. Chu-hung pioneers their escape from the malevolent instructor's lair into the corridor, where Lung's prowess dwindles to naught. Encircled by Master Suen's cohorts, the demise of the valiant duo is swift and merciless. While their attention is elsewhere, Chao Chih-Hao infiltrates Qinpei's domain. Here, he first employs the formidable Iron Fist technique, with a single palm strike sealing the fate of its recipient. The minions of Qinpei fall first to his might. Foreseeing his doom, Master Meng retreats to his sanctuary. After Chih-Hao dispatches Qinpei's underlings, he proceeds to Meng's refuge, only to discover the deceitful mentor poised to divide his girth with a blade. His end, ignominious as his life, was by his own design. Yet the saga is not at its conclusion. As Taming, Ying and Chih-Hao make their departure, Master Okada, bearing the severed head of Chen Lang, issues a challenge, tossing the macabre trophy at Chih-Hao's feet. He incites the irate champion to a rematch, a duel for justice against a foe who has claimed many souls. They prepare for battle. Okada sheds his cumbersome footwear and draws his blade, while Chih-Hao assumes the Iron Fist stance. The sword grants Okada a significant edge, and he lands several cuts, his confidence swelling as Chih-Hao's wanes. Chih-Hao, employing various strategies, including leaps from the shadows, evades his sword-wielding adversary for a time. Yet Okada deciphers his pattern and ensnares him. In a head-on assault, Chih-Hao counters with his palms, dodging at last and causing the sword to embed in a wooden pillar. With a mighty strike, Chih-Hao shatters the blade. The fight descends into a brawl, with Chih-Hao's Iron Fist delivering crushing blows to Okada's chest, culminating in his downfall. Envision, if you will, the Japanese mercenary, yielding his last breath to the grievous wounds inflicted upon him as the trio of companions, Lu Taming, Chao Chih-Hao, and Sung Ying, take their leave, sauntering toward the setting sun's embrace.